75 million years ago in the Gobi Desert of Mongolia, an elderly Protoceratops was wandering alone. This type of dinosaur typically lived in groups, but having grown old, it was already without attachments. At this moment, the sorrowful cry of its kind rang out not far away. Curious, it walked forward for a look and discovered that it was a family of 3 fellow Protoceratops being attacked by a group of velociraptors. It was apparent that the male had already been killed under the claws of the raptors, leaving only the mother shakily guarding her child. Unlike Triceratops, Protoceratops didn't have a strong physique or offensive abilities. After a tense standoff between the two sides, the velociraptors seized their opportunity and launched an attack. These predators excelled at identifying the weaknesses of their prey. A single strike from their sharp claws hit the female Protoceratops' neck directly. As expected, the child watched helplessly as its mother died right before its eyes. The elderly Protoceratops also witnessed this scene from the Gobi. The young one was still in danger, and now the velociraptors had turned their gaze toward it. Driven by survival instinct, the juvenile turned and ran desperately. But facing agile and fierce velociraptors, it was eventually forced into a corner. In such a situation, the juvenile certainly had no way out. However, the 2 velociraptors didn't rush to kill it. Instead, they intended to play with it for a while. Just when the young one was hanging by a thread, the old Protoceratops chose to come to its aid. Though its pace was slow, each step was firm and steady. Its very appearance made the 2 velociraptors feel like they were facing a formidable enemy. Though aged, the old dinosaur had not only a worn-out body, but also battle-hardened experience carved like blades and axes into its memory. Empowered by great strength, the old one managed to knock both velociraptors down in the first round. But now was not the time to let down its guard. Countless battles had taught the old dinosaur that showing fatigue at the wrong time would lead to disaster. So under the oppressive aura of the elder, the 2 velociraptors had no choice but to retreat. Having completed this, the old dinosaur grew even weaker. The rescued juvenile Protoceratops cautiously stepped out, knowing that if it wanted to survive, it had to seek protection from the old one. So not long after, it started to follow the old dinosaur's steps. But in the face of the young one's friendly greeting, the exhausted elder didn't show any kindness. It was no benevolent figure. Having witnessed too many partings and deaths, its heart had long turned cold. Yet the juvenile didn't give up. On the contrary, it began to follow the elder day and night. Faced with the stubbornness of the child, the old one had no choice. As days passed, the old dinosaur seemed to recall its own children who had died young. Before long, they became like family, migrating together, foraging together, like a grandfather and grandson. But the 2 velociraptors had not given up. They had to recover their lost dignity. Otherwise, how could they continue to survive among predators? Just as they were preparing another ambush, an unexpected event occurred. The ground began to shake violently and dust filled the horizon. It turned out that a large group of Protoceratops had migrated into the area. Upon seeing this, the 2 hunters immediately turned and ran. If they didn't flee, they'd be turned into meat pies. When gathered in groups, Protoceratops could defend against most predators. Seeing his kind, the young one was quickly called to join the main group. Out of instinct, it immediately joined the herd. But the old dinosaur remained still. This was no longer his home. The juvenile was curious why this grandpa didn't join the group. In truth, the reason was simple. When a creature senses the approach of death, it seeks its true final resting place. The old dinosaur was no different. At this moment, it had reached its destination, a valley where countless Protoceratops were buried. This was the highest honor of a king of its species, to end where it all began. The strong may fall, but their spirit lives on.